Using print profiles can be a bit of a mystery for a lot of people, so I want to take you through my process of using PhotoShop CS6 to create a print using a print profile. This is an ArtRage painting of mine, and as you can see, it utilizes a number of layers. My first step is to save it as a PSD file in a folder on the hard drive. And to do that, I'm going to choose Export Image. I'm going to choose PSD, and we'll save it to the desktop. And I'll put it under PSD Files. And now let's go to Photoshop and open that file. In Photoshop, we're going to duplicate the image and save it as a soft-proof TIFF file. I like using a TIFF file because it maintains absolutely every bit of image data. Here are the steps that I'm going to use to soft-proof. First, we're going to flatten the image. So we have a single layer. From the top menu bar, I'm going to choose View, Proof, Custom. We're going to choose a device to simulate our paper profile, which in this case is going to be a, let's see, here we go, a Red River paper canvas for the Canon Pro Mark II. We're going to keep our Preserve RGB numbers off. Perceptual is what I prefer, and black point selected. Display options unselected. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to save this TIFF file. It can save as TIFF, and we're going to save it in the same location. We're going to drag it off the main canvas so that it becomes its own image. Let's zoom out a little bit, make it smaller. And let's open our original Photoshop image. Okay, and reduce that also, so that I have them side by side. This will make it a little bit easier to compare. Original Photoshop, my profile TIFF file. Now already you can see that there's a slight difference in the overall tint of the image and the contrast ratio. Command Y, while my TIFF is selected, will toggle between profiled and not profiled, and you can see the difference as you toggle. So what I need to do is create some adjustment layers. In this case, I'm going to go with levels. Sometimes it's helpful to zoom in, but I need to get an overall view of how it's going to affect my image. So I think making this adjustment right about there, and I can do Command Y again. Click on this one, zoom in a bit, move it over, make sure my profiled image is selected, Command Y. That's pretty good. In this case, I only needed to use an adjustment layer for levels, but sometimes I find it useful to go to color balance, curves, and even hue saturation to make slight adjustments for different areas. For example, if we go to color balance, we've added a second adjustment layer up here. And I'm looking at perhaps my shadows. Could go a little bit cooler, perhaps. I might increase the blue. My highlights look pretty good, so that may be all I need to adjust. Then I might come in and add curves. And my reds look a little too intense, so I'm going to go to my reds and make some adjustments. I like that. hue saturation. Once again, go to my reds or the yellows perhaps. My yellows. And make an ever so slight adjustment to the lightness. The reds. Reduce the saturation of the reds very slightly. And increase the lightness. Alright, that looks good to me. What I'd like to do now is to group these 4 layers, put them in a group. I can turn it on and off. And this shows me the adjustments I made to get it to look like my original. Turning on and off the profile shows how far I had to take that TIFF file to get it to look right with that particular paper. So this is ready to go. I need to save this, and I can close or delete my original. Command 0. Now every printer and paper combination will yield a different black. So your choice in paper is pretty critical. You have to consider the lighting under which your print will be viewed, the color of the wall, perhaps the color of prints that are adjacent to yours. If it's a super black image, if I had a black background or my darker colors were very, very dark, almost black, that combination may look gray or even brown. So in this case, we're pretty lucky. Or my dark colors that are almost black have a lot of color in it, and the rest of the colors are fairly saturated and fairly punchy. So that kind of helps me. And now that I've done my adjustments, I've saved it. I can double check with Command Y. I like that. I can go to print. Command P. Make sure my aspect ratio is correct. Make sure Photoshop manages the color. Make sure you have the right color handling and printer profile, perceptual, black point compensation, scale to fit media, and that's my 8x10 image as it will be printed. So now I can go ahead and hit print, and I should have a very close representation that will match what I see on my screen. And here is the final print. It'll take anywhere from a few hours to 24 hours for the inks to cure and settle. So you really can't evaluate a print until it's ready.